Hello, guys, and welcome along to another Wall of Reds. Ben here with eight. Well, we're going to be eight passionate Reds when Abdel, who's always fashionably late, decides to join us this evening. And of course, when he joins, I think actually today what we should do, seeing as he's late again, we should do a no compliment Abdel zone. So no one compliment him tonight because everyone does compliment him on every other show. Tonight we'll just talk about how he's always late, and then we'll give him some stick from there. But welcome along. We're going to be hearing from loads of Reds. We're going to be having the final word, of course, on Derby Day yesterday's. I think it's safe to say bore draw, but I think with some of the other results that have happened this weekend, it's not looking too shabby at that point right now. So we're going to jump into that. I also want to jump into potentially Pogba, what he was saying after the game, but also what Roy Keane was saying after the game. That really, really interests me when he was. They didn't even mention how magnificent Harry Maguire was at all post-match, and then decided to dig him out for having a little cuddle with John Stones. So we're going to jump into that in a moment as well. But before we do, guys, get in the live chat. If you're not on the YouTube, come over to youtube.com/allforunited. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like as well. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. It's going to help us get out there to so many more Reds to come and get involved in our amazing little community over here. So please hit that like button. It means a lot to us. So whatever you're doing right now, stop it, smash that like button and get involved. First things first, though, the final word on the City game. Derby Day yesterday, Connor. Did it live up to expectations for you? What's your 2-minute take on yesterday's derby?
I guess not in terms of recent times. The derby games in the last couple of years have been quite interesting. That one, not so much. Stark contrast to the one back in March. I think everyone's pretty much going to say the same thing about yesterday. It was very similar to Chelsea, very similar to Arsenal, very conservative, didn't really want to lose. I think that's probably the right call after what happened in the week. We couldn't have lost today. I think Ollie would have been under even more pressure than he already is. So not getting the loss was important. But on the flip side, we've seen the rest of the results over the weekend. We needed to capitalise on the win, and City were there for the taking. On the weekend, they were shocking, and the fact that Pep came to Old Trafford with so much respect for us quite shows actually where we are, and that we should have beaten them yesterday. Not on the chances we created because there was hardly any, but they were there for the taking. I'm not a massive fan of the diamond personally, not so much for the midfield. I just don't think Greenwood and Rashford can play in a front two, and certainly recently, I don't know what's happened to Greenwood. Greenwood's been the one that can take his chances off a first or second touch, but him and Rashford yesterday were just lashing at chances, and they don't seem to link up together. They just need to start looking up a bit more. And when Bruno's not having a great game, like he was okay yesterday, we just don't seem to create anything. I think he's crying out for a rest that we need to try and find for him in the next few games.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing with me. Greenwood and Rashford cannot play in a two. And I'm not saying it's got anything to do with them individually. It's just as a partnership, it doesn't work as a two. So I was quite happy to see that Greenwood came to the right and Rashford came to the left yesterday at times as well, because it just doesn't work. It doesn't. You need an outlet. When you're going to play that type of football with two strikers up top, you need to have an outlet. And Greenwood, neither of them offer an outlet at all. And we haven't got the players to play them in behind. So what's the point? It's a waste. It's an absolute waste playing them together. But I'm sure we'll come back onto that. Ramil is on Trust the Process. Ollie is the guy, whether people like it or not. We have to find our ideal formation. And Jacob says, strange weekend. Brian, that's a very weird team. Dortmund lost 5-1 with the manager sacked. Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, United, City and Arsenal. I had one more club into that, Wolves as well. All dropped points on the same weekend, which is surely for the first time ever. Yes. Oliver, just a couple of minutes because I know you was on the match reaction, so let's keep this short. What were your thoughts now reflecting on yesterday's derby?
I think Pogba was decent yesterday. I think, yes, the Raiola thing, it's caused a bit of a stink. People saying, why didn't he come out and, defend the club? I don't think that's his place. I think he did his talking on the pitch. And I thought him and Shaw were sort of man of the match joint. But then again, it's man of the match in, a dire 0-0 draw. I think the one thing we could usually count on in a derby is at least an entertaining game. That was not that. It wouldn't surprise me if I sort of fallen asleep and woken up at 90 minutes. It was pretty diabolical. As for Rashford and Greenwood, I think we've seen it more than a few times now, where it looks like they're both, that little bit of greed that sometimes we say they need. Whether they've made a stupid pass when they should have shot. but I think they're both very greedy at the minute, and I think that's come at the detriment to the team, which it shouldn't do. So, yeah, I'm not sure it was great. I think I was in a bit of a shock because it kind of looked like it was a 4-2-3-1 with Pogba on the left in an advanced position. I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years as a lineup to start with. But I think it sort of worked. And as we said, it was there for the taking, and a game for set pieces. Unfortunately, everyone on that pitch was pretty average yesterday. So, yeah, I think all the more annoying the fact that everyone else has dropped points. So an opportunity to be had against a pretty below average City team yesterday. Has to be said, sort of shout out to McTominay and Fred for stopping De Bruyne, as he was non-existent yesterday. So great points, bad game for me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's one of those games where you can completely understand it as a manager not wanting to risk it and not wanting to twist. But then as a fan, it's so frustrating because I was sat there and you could just see where the game could change and be influenced. But hey, we're not in that hot seat.
Imagine if we'd have done that against Leipzig or PSG, though.
Hindsight's a fantastic thing, isn't it?
Hindsight is a fantastic thing.
Kai, let's come over to you. 2 minutes. Guys, get in the live chat. Let us know what you think. Argue against any of the guys' points. They love it. They're tough. They can take your thoughts. And also make sure you put your opinions in there as well. Come on, Kai.
Well, I actually think I have a little bit of a different take on that, actually, because I think it wasn't a game which was really there for the taking, in a sense that the moment that we open up, City will carve us up in 2 seconds. So it's not even a matter of trying to do that at that point, because there's probably more negatives that would come from us changing the shape and going a little bit more expansive. So I think the first thing that we needed to do was get a draw, because yes, it's a derby, but at the end of the day, it is City. And they are actually better than us when it comes to just playing football. So I think this was, if there was a game to get a point, this was probably the game to get a point. And I also particularly thought McTominay was great. I think he offered for the ball. The one thing which I noticed, which was a bit different, was his body shape when he was receiving the ball. It was more with the intention of going forward, because generally he comes facing square to get the ball, and then the only option he has is to either play it backwards or to a guy who is, a little bit left or right to him. So I think he changed that a bit, and he really advanced the ball really well in a midfield as well, where City were actually pressing us a little bit forward. So he was a little bit press resistant yesterday, to use Sean's lovely words. So I think he did well in that regard. I think Pogba was also good. He drove forward very well. And also he won a whole lot of aerial challenges, which we did try find him with. So I think that was a little bit of a tactic we were trying to do over there. And I think we should just overall also just applaud discipline. I think we criticize a lack of discipline a lot of times, and I think we should just, mention that these guys were disciplined yesterday. I mean, we can't be crying over a point against City, as well as that. And also Fred, last one, I think he was also really good. And I think we were surprised midweek when we played a 5 at the back and we didn't have Fred, and then we were conceding goals like no one's business. And that's, I think, because that's Fred's, he's that player who is very different in the squad. He gets a lot closer to players a lot quicker. And he has a lot of technique in the way that he presses for the ball and the way that he moves towards the ball. So I think that was the distinguishable difference between not having Fred, someone who is totally different to every other midfielder we have in our team, and someone that we need in almost every system that we play. So I think that was also a difference, having Fred in there just to solidify that midfield as well. So yeah, I think it was a decent game to get a point from, and I just think we should just move on really. To other games where we can get 3 points. But if we get stuck in this thing that we say, yeah, we should have gone for it, I think that's dangerous, because City are better at going for it than we are ever in any case.
And they never got the chance to, which should be applauded. As you say, the discipline was really good. We stuck at our task. Every single player in that team knew their job, and I think they all pulled it off. Really, you can't say that they didn't, because they nullified City completely. This question is going to come up a lot today, and maybe we'll all try and answer it later on. How did we lose to that Arsenal team? We'll give it a go later. Stick with us, Stuart, and we'll try and answer that question for you. But I'm not sure anyone knows the answer to that one.
Paul.
Pogba.
Yeah.
Pogba.
Football, bloody football. That's how. And we had another comment here. Let me try and find it. Ramil just hitting on the Pogba. Ollie, you said Pogba is world class, no doubt, but his misdemeanor is a little odd. He should have said something rather than his crap agent. Cut your losses now, or we lose him for free soon. Well, look, let's just talk about his performance from now, and he played well. Abdel, welcome along, buddy. Just trying to check the time. Do you want me to buy you a watch for Christmas, buddy?
Nah, man. I just have to rush home every time we have the show. So,
well, I hope everything's good. Come on, what are your thoughts? The lads have all pitched in. What are your thoughts on yesterday's draw?
I think it was a very interesting game where you're trying to not be defensive, be secure, but at the same time you're trying to win the game without losing that security at the same time. Because both Pep and Ollie played each other enough times to know where each other's weaknesses and strength are. So Ollie wants to find the gaps between the center backs and the full backs and exploit that. And Pep knows that now. He's been beaten 3 times in that way. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to go with 2 defensive midfielders, which, to be fair to him, has been doing a lot more because Rodri has been costing him a lot of games. And he closed that area. Now, the part where I found the game interesting was how each one of them try to cancel each other out while they're building up the play, because this is where all the tactics was going on, all the intricate little things that both managers tried to change within the game happened. But I found it interesting. I don't know. I know people want to see big moments and big goals and because at the end of the day, after this derby is finished, long time after it, what are you going to remember? You're going to remember, whoa, the amazing goal that Scott McTominay scored, or Pogba, or Martial. So both managers tried to change it at halftime to suck each one of them in, try to get them to press them more, so that you find those spaces in behind and try to counter them. When we did that, unfortunately, their forwards are faster than our center backs. That's why they got a couple of chances, like the Mahrez chance, like the Sterling chance. When they did that, their center backs covered Greenwood and Rashford pretty well. So this is why it didn't look like we had big chances as to their couple of moments when we pushed up very, very high, especially when they sucked Aaron Wan-Bissaka in and Lindelof had to cover him. But yeah, I like that Ollie tried to use their left hand side, which would be our right hand side, to build up from, which was interesting considering that Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Scott McTominay are the weaker points when you try to build up from the back, but they were pretty impressive. I was really shocked. And how he used Pogba and Fernandez in the build-up play to expand the diamond. Like I said before, many times, Ollie does not play it in a diamond conventional way. He played as more of a box with two attacking midfielders spread out. So Pogba will drop into that far left, and Bruno Fernandez would drop down to the far right and try to help build up the play. And he knew that the City was their weaker point was Cancelo and what's his name, Rodri, when they try to press. And we played them. We played them pretty well down that right hand side. So that was interesting for me. I know pundits and media and fans, when a game like this ended in a 0-0 draw, oh, they did not want to lose it. No manager goes into a game saying, I don't want to lose this game. They want to win it, but it's just they don't want to lose security. They don't want to open up after such a defeat that we had in the midweek, and they've been conceding as well. So they don't want to open up because they know we're dangerous on the counter. They know that. So how can I close Greenwood and Rashford? I have to be a little bit secure, because if I push too hard, I know they're gonna get me, kind of thing.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I do actually want to come back and speak to you about Pogba's positioning, because I think that was really, and you've been saying this a few times when you talk about the diamond, and I think his positioning throughout the game really sort of hit home what you were saying and how you were picturing it. So I want to come back and talk to you about that. And also, you've just reminded me of one thing when you were talking about Ollie and Pep playing each other so many times. Of course, they've only faced each other in the Premier League, but already they've played each other 6 times. Ollie's played Pep more than any other manager in this league. They've got a pretty good understanding of each other, and the record for Ollie isn't bad. They've played 6. Ollie's won 3, drawn 1, lost 2. I think that goes to show, that says a lot though, doesn't it, in terms of yesterday, how they managed to cancel each other out in stages of that game, and maybe we've got to be a little bit more aware of that. No one really moved away from what they know best. They both tried to find the spaces of which the other managers went, yeah, I knew you were going to do that, so that's why I done. It's like a game of chess at times yesterday, I think, is the best way to put it. Let's go over to Dominic. Dominic, thank you for jumping on, mate. It's good to have you on the channel. Been watching some of your stuff. You're doing some great things. Give us your thoughts on yesterday's draw.
So I know we're going to talk about this later, guys, but just a moment of silence for Arsenal. All right, cool. That's enough. You know what, right? Before the game, okay, I ordered the Chinese because I knew that my chicken chow mein would have more excitement and joy than the game that we watched yesterday. And you know why? It's because this game was a game of complete tactics. If you think about it, Pep, I've never seen Pep pace 2 CDMs in a game like that before. Fernandinho and Rodri, you having a laugh? He knew for a fact that we could go and counter him. We had pace. He knows his track record, just like Ben's talked about just a second ago. Kai's points, look, this is not a bad point. Don't get me wrong. As soon as the game over, I was like, negative, Ollie. I was like, what's this guy doing? Give me some milk. I'm going to go to bed. It was one of those situations. But I've had time to think about it. And really, this was a massive inflection point for the whole of Manchester United. If you think about where we are and where we're going, we're one of those teams that, okay, we win, we lose, we draw. We win, we lose, we draw. What are we doing? Where are we going? What do we want to be? But in this whole sort of period, Ollie was probably the smartest I've actually ever seen him, because if he played like this against Leipzig, are you joking me? We would be in the Champions League now and not playing on Thursdays and doing streams on Thursdays. He was so smart in this game. And I'm not saying I'm Ollie in or Ollie out, but he was tactical, all right? If we went out all attack, just like Kai said, any money, I'll tell you right now, Jesus would have come down, walked on water, and scored that goal. He got on a couple of times, and he knew what he was doing. But because we were rigid, we were solid, we made sure that it was hard to break down. This was a Jose Mourinho type of performance. And you know what? I enjoyed it a little bit. Not the actual game, I fell asleep, but I enjoyed the point. You can see now that all these teams are struggling. This league is abysmal. It's a labyrinth. Up is down, left is right. No one's winning. People are drawing. Arsenal rubbish. It's one of those situations where we need to actually think back now and understand that that is a good point. Like I said for the Sheffield United game coming up, I don't care. I don't want to be one of those people to say, yeah, we got to batter them. We got to smack them up. We've only got 1 point. I don't care about battering right now. We need to go and win. If we win 1-0, I'll take it all day long, because we need to build something, all right? It's one of those situations where we're going to keep winning and drawing and losing, winning, drawing and losing. But if we're building a platform, if we're taking each game as it comes, if we drop this, we're Manchester United. If we drop that tag and just take each game as it comes and just get behind the players and lift them up instead of pushing them down, we can do something. But for me, it was one of those games where it could have gone either way, and I'm happy that we've got a point and we didn't lose, because now we've got a platform to hopefully go and get a win against Sheffield, get a win against Leeds. And you know what? It's Thursday nights, but at least I can do something on a Thursday, because I'm at home working from home, doing what I've got to do. There's more things I want to be doing, but I can watch football on a Thursday. I know you can too. So you know what? Up the Reds. See you later. Arsenal.
Love that. A moment of silence for Arsenal. That's how you make a start to your life on this channel, mate. I love that. Clip that up, someone, please. Someone clip that up. Fred's agreeing with you here straight away, Dominic. It's rare that Pep starts Fernandinho and Rodri together, which suggests he was wary of our counter, especially after the game at Old Trafford last season. I think he was. And again, I think they so to speak, they played a game of chess and they hit a stalemate. No one could get through. No one could get checkmate. And I think that's why we saw the 0-0 draw in the end. Sean, let me come over to you, mate. Couple of minutes from you. Any final thoughts from the City game?
For me, I thought it was a snooze fest, to be honest with you, when it comes to what I expect from a derby. I listen to what everyone is saying. I think that almost everyone's making some really good points, which is typical on this channel. I will say this, though. I feel like to the point that managers don't set up not to win. That's actually factually not true. I've heard them say they were setting up not to lose. So here's what I think happened. I think Pep set up with 2 CDMs, which I agree is you don't ever see him do that. And that, to me, that was a hats off in respect to Ollie, because Pep knows that we can coach the counter very effectively. But the thing, back to kind of what Abdel was saying a minute ago, that is just true, is that we didn't actually set up really to counter. If you really look at it, we were playing a little differently than how we've played City in the past. And I think that's why Ollie makes a comment that people will run with, that he said he felt like this was one of his best coaching performances against City. Now, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but I get why he was saying it, because I feel like we had more of the ball. We didn't just sit back and park the bus and hope to hit them on the break. I felt like there were times we were the better team in the match, where I would have liked to seen a tactical change to go for it. And I get that it is a good point in hindsight, because, hindsight's always 20/20. So now we know what all the other results were. But at the end of the day, case in point, there are players that played well yesterday that I felt they get slagged off all the time. Some of them deserve it, some of them don't. But just for example, I thought Pogba was solid yesterday. I'm not McTominay's biggest fan at all. I thought he played well yesterday. Maguire had some key blocks. Luke Shaw, a lot of people love to hate him. He was arguably man of the match yesterday. Fred played well. We had a lot of guys playing well yesterday. However, when you think about that 60th minute, the fact that Pep himself didn't even try to change the game, right? In that 60th minute was crying out to bring in someone like Donny van de Beek in the midfield, someone with that little extra attacking intent, because back to what all Big O was saying, they were there to be got. Now, to Kai's point, if we come out too much, they're going to cut us open. And I agree with that if it's last year's City, but this year they haven't been great. And the truth is, Kevin De Bruyne, there's been plenty of times this season he's looked like he don't even want to be playing. And he has not been good. I don't care what anyone says. They can say he's better than Bruno, and maybe throughout his career he is. But this year he sure enough isn't. And the fact that they had two defensive players, I think that there was a missed opportunity. However, it's a good point. And at the end of the day, we just want, no matter what agenda we have, coach in, coach out, Pogba in, Pogba out, whatever it is with our fan base, it's always one way or the other. We should all want this to be up top. And so points are points. Let's go. Yeah.
And if you look at that table, it's not looking too bad. So you can't really argue with it. There's been some brief disappointment, of course, there has in the Champions League, but look at the rest of the season, look at the rest of that league. And I don't care what anyone says, it's still a trophy that I want to win. Give me a trophy. I want to win any trophy. So it doesn't care what the competition is. In hindsight, would I have loved to have gone further in the Champions League? Of course I would. Do I think we've got a better chance of winning the Europa League than the Champions League? Yeah, I do. Let's go for it. We move on, onwards and upwards. Andrew, what about you? What are your thoughts on yesterday's final statements? You've got the floor now, Andrew, to finish us all off with that goal that we never got yesterday. What do you think?
Obviously, he didn't live up to back in March when we won that game 2-0, and both teams just didn't want to risk making a mistake if it ended up losing the game. I mean, we had a few decent chances in the first half through the corners we had, and Luke Shaw was whipping some corners in and getting some decent crosses in. There was the McTominay chance. If he'd have got his boot on the ball at the far post, we could have gone 1-0 up before half time. Lindelof and Maguire also had their chances to score as well. Second half, I think we just lacked a bit of urgency in our play and in the final third of the pitch. I mean, obviously Rashford, we thought he had a penalty and then was ruled offside, and then he had that chance that he hit wide as well. And I think towards the end of the game, I think the players just looked a bit fatigued as well. So it was like, I don't know, the amount of games we've been playing is just starting to catch up with some of the players. And I mean, Ollie made the change with Martial for Greenwood, but Martial didn't have much effect on the game, and I didn't see much of him. And I can see why Ollie didn't make any more attacking substitutions, because he didn't want us to be susceptible to the counter-attack and leave our defence exposed. And I mean, after Tuesday night, we needed to put in a solid defensive performance, which we did, especially Harry Maguire. I mean, City had a few chances themselves during the game, but if we'd have put one or two more attacking moves together in the second half, then we could have got the result we wanted. But yes, I wanted the 3 points yesterday, but 1 point is better than nothing. And with the other results this weekend, we're still in a very good position to catch those at the top of the table.
Yeah, good points. Well made, everyone. I want to come back and reflect on some of your thoughts. So, Connor, I'll start with you, mate. I know everyone's hitting on different points of view there, but you mentioned that City were there for the taking. What made you feel watching the game that we could have and potentially should have done more to try and get that win?
I think it's just their previous games. They've looked defensively poor for the past 12 months or so. And I feel like in a game like that, someone's got to twist. I know everyone's saying, and I disagree with everyone here, so don't shoot me down in the comments or anything, but I don't see a point gained is great, but I think we all would have liked to have seen in the last 20 minutes. I'm not saying from the start, because that is very risky, and especially after the result in the week. But I think in the last 20, 15 minutes, you can go for it a little bit more, because it was obvious that Guardiola didn't want to push it too much and was quite happy to come to Old Trafford and get a draw. And on the flip side, like I said, obviously we've got to go there next year, obviously in the away game, and who knows how many fans will be allowed back then. So it could be a bigger disadvantage then. The way I always look at it is you've got to win your home games, don't lose your away games. So I feel like we should have pushed it a little bit more, certainly in the last 20 minutes, just because of how poor they are.
Do you feel like we came across more like the away team then yesterday?
Yeah, I just think because of the pressure, and this is partly down to the media and a lot of places like ESPN and so on that put so much pressure on Ollie. I just think he's looking at it like he can't lose that game, certainly after the result in the week. I just think he looked at it not in a negative way, because obviously we all don't want to lose, but I just think he's set up not to lose in that way just after the result in the week. I think if we'd have won in the week, we might have gone for it a bit more yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, no, good points well made. I was frustrated at the time. I think I did tweet out saying that that I felt like that was a frustrating draw for a fan, because you could see where the game could be potentially won, but a fantastic draw for the managers who got it absolutely spot on and a point they would take. But I think that's the difference between sitting there as a football fan who wants to see something extremely thrilling and wanting to see a team play on the front foot the whole 90 minutes, which isn't always achievable, and then being a realist in terms of what can be achieved and can't be. Go on, Kai.
Ben, I've heard a lot of people, even on Twitter as well, a lot of people say that Pep says respectful things to Ole because he disrespects him. Well, what's everyone's view on that? If you get what I mean. So people think that managers
100%.
just...
Well, patronising is what they're getting at. I'm not sure it is,
Yeah?
though, to be honest with you.
I don't think
I
so,
think
because he
he's
sets
deflect.
up... Every time
He's trying
Pep
to
sets
deflect,
up
right?
against Ole, he kind of sets up in such a way, like, in this time at least, he set up in a respectful way, and he's always respecting Ole in the press conferences.
Pep doesn't like Ollie one bit. Don't respect him. Thinks he's probably like some washed up guy who got a job because he knows the person's mum or something. He's one of those people. You don't respect him. He says it just in case he gets embarrassed by Ollie, because he knows that the players can counter attack, have the speed, and the way that Man City play, they don't know how to play any other way than attack. So they had to play two CDMs to nullify our attack. And that's what happened. And now he's good because he said, yeah, look, they're Manchester United. So now he's win-win. He's not stupid. He's got a Lord's career.
But he does this all the time, though. Like, it's not just this one time. Every time before he plays Ole, he's always saying something really nice. Like, he knows what he's doing. And he generally ends up knowing what he's doing.
If he says that sort of comment against Lampard, he's full of it. Definitely. I can't see a Lampard comment coming out.
Like, this time he exacerbated a little bit more than previously. Like, previously is like he knows what he's doing. This time he actually went in further because they asked him about the Champions League exit. Like, what do you think of Man United exits in the Champions League? And he was like, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is an exceptional manager. They were in a tough group, and like if you look at the chance, he actually sat down and talked about the chances we had at PSG and RB Leipzig. It's like if you look at the chances that they had they scored these, we'd be sitting here talking about the character and the spirit of Manchester United and how special he is.
He doesn't think Ollie's an exceptional manager, though, because
No.
as much as I love Ollie, I don't think he's
it's
an
not
exceptional
that.
manager. I don't think anyone does.
It's
No,
not that.
I
But
think
it's
that
that-
he's taking.
no.
Go ahead, Adele. I'm sorry.
It's not that. It's just because people think they're dishonest in their respect to each other. Like if I'm like, this guy got beat by Ollie 3 times out of 4. So I'm not saying he thinks he's a genius,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
I
of course.
think he's better than what they make him out to be. That's what he's
Exactly.
trying to say.
Yeah.
Is this
That's what I
like
know.
Lokesh? Is this Lokesh hitting the hammer on the head here? Sort of, he's saying it to motivate his own players because Manchester United is still the bigger club in terms of pre-match comments about the manager and sucking up a little bit.
But I think
then he went on and talked about himself too, about like how he got knocked out of the Champions League from chances on open goal that they missed. So it's like when you feel the pain of somebody and how he's pressured because they say he's fraudiola and he can't win the Champions League without Messi and all that stuff. So he knows he's not as bad as everyone makes him out to be. He's actually a good manager, but he was in a tough group because so, like what happened with me when I got knocked out of the Champions League because we missed open goal chances.
Oh,
and you guys said the same thing about me.
Also,
I kind of think
people forget how close managers are. Like managers are
Yeah,
actually quite.
there
They
you
do
go.
quite,
Exactly.
especially in the
Protect each other.
top clubs in world football. Like they have regular meetings. They're regularly on conferences together. Like they're not top managers, but managers of top clubs. I think they've got, what is the Europe the manager committee? Is it the top 25 clubs in the world or something? They're always in conversation about different things to do with the game, and they have that yearly thing over in Monaco, don't they? I forget what it's called. I forget what the whole thing's called. But yeah, they and so managers are close. So I don't think they would publicly come out and not support each other, because if they do, they feel the wrath of a number of different.
But I also think it's probably time that a lot of people just admit that actually tactically Ole is actually a pretty good manager. Like just generally tactically.
Don't open up that can. Don't open up that can.
No, I'm just saying it's pretty clear that when it comes to a game plan, right? Well, what is it that we give credit to Jose for? Game plans, right? So specific game plans for specific situations that he always wins from, right?
And it was good.
What has Ole done?
The game plan was good for Leipzig.
listen. But this is the problem, right? That we look at the game just before, right? That's what I'm saying. We look at the game just before, but we fail to look at the other ones. And all I'm just trying to say is, I think when we say tactically, right, it's in these games which are the separate games to the other ones. Because against small teams, you actually need a lot more individual, quality than you need tactics. Because how do you have a tactic for a team that plays a back 5 and that's just going to sit back the whole time? So I actually think that in those one-time situations, Ole is actually a pretty good tactician, because that's what it is. We just don't want to say it because he looks like that. That's the honest truth. But it actually is. Yeah, Sean. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's hard.
I completely agree with that.
No tactics are dumb.
I
I shouldn't say it that way because I'm not attacking people. I'm saying I don't think he has no tactics. Like people that say that, they're just trying to get more and more views. I'm sorry, they're trying to be too controversial. He obviously has tactics, right? And
every manager does.
Especially when he sits back and he can play on the counter. He coaches great at that. Some of his in-game decisions, some of how he approaches games tactically, like Leipzig, we could debate that he don't make the right decisions. How he does some players. I don't want to talk about the manager. I want to say this about what we were talking about, though. I think styles make fights. And I think that Ole's style gives someone like Pep problems. And Pep, I think he was acknowledging that in his comments. I know that Pep probably doesn't really respect him and think he's a top manager, because most people without a Manchester United bias would say he's not a top manager.
Of course, no one ever said that. No one ever said that.
No, I'm saying
no one said he's a top manager. That's the problem. All I'm saying is he is a very competent manager, and people make it out like he's not even anything, like he's never managed anything in his life. And that's all I'm trying to say, that he is a competent manager. No one said he is a genius. And when you give Ole credit, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's the greatest thing. It just means that it's just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good
No,
thing that he's
yeah,
there.
I don't
people.
think no one's saying. I don't
problem
think
is
Sean's
the
saying.
argument's too toxic.
He's not
right?
saying that. Yeah.
It's like you're all the way Ollie in or all the way Ollie out.
No,
all this
that's
kind
a
of stuff. It's
nonsense,
too
mate.
toxic
We
for
did
me.
say that, haven't we?
I love the guy. I'll be honest with you. I've not wanted the guy as the main manager since he was interim manager. I thought it was the wrong appointment.
Yeah.
And I'll die on that sword. And I hope I do. I want to win everything with this guy. And I'll be celebrating and singing always the wheel. I'm not married to any agenda. At the end of the day, I think he's better than what he gets credit for. But I also think that too many times we're so inconsistent or on a knife edge that we can't have it both ways. We want to say that when things start going good, it's all Ollie. And when things, are going a certain way, we blame the players, and we blame Ollie. There's the player, there's no tactics, and there is tactics. To me, the big problem is at the top of our club. And as far as I'm concerned, even though I don't want Ollie as a manager personally, I don't think that Ed Woodward has a right to sack anyone. That's just my opinion, because I feel like at the top down is the problem. I don't believe Ollie's the biggest problem. I just think that because fans can and ESPN, these people can have the most effect on a manager, that's why he becomes the fall guy. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, Sean, I completely agree with you, Sean. In terms of that, I don't think anybody on this stream has ever said that Ollie's not a manager or competent or can do a job. Come on, he's been in the game for many, many years. He's not a Sunday league. Yeah, it's a long spec. He's not a Sunday league coach like helping your kids learn how to pass. You know what I mean? He's a good manager. He's a good manager in terms of it. I've always said that Ollie's a good manager, but not a good coach. He's taken out the toxicity of the club. He's got Sanchez out of it. He's trying to get a certain profile of player, but just as Sean said, and Sean's making me like him a lot. I love his cap as well. But just as Sean's saying, right, he's got a certain style. And Pep was afraid of that style. He knows what he's done. He's like, if I go out attack and I play my tiki-taka, I know what they're going to do. They're going to hold back and then just absolutely catapult and score. And I'm going to look like an idiot again. All right. I don't want to be Mikel Arteta. I don't want to be that guy. So he put back. He paid 2 CDMs and it worked. And they're both managers were happy with a point. Ollie doesn't want to get sacked, so he thinks I need a point. Pep's like, okay, I'm supposed to be this amazing guy who plays with Barcelona, Brian, as Ben said, or Bayern, whatever. And I can't be embarrassed again, right? I can't be embarrassed again. But it was a good point for both managers. But I'm saying to you right now, Ollie, for me, came in as an interim manager. Anybody, please do not forget this. He came in as a supply teacher. You know, when you go to school and they're like, hello, Mr. Wood. Hello, yes, I've opened your books to page 2. He was a supply teacher, right? With credentials, and he managed Mulder, but he was never supposed to be long-term. He had a good run. Rio Fernandez said, give him the paper, and now he's our manager, right? But we should never forget that we are an elite club, and we need an elite manager. Ollie's doing a good job for now, and he's up and down, but long-term, he won't. For me, I think he can't take us to where we want to be, but I'm never going to beat Ollie out because it's the board, and it's Woodward, and it's the Glazers. The structure needs to change. That's me. That's what I'm saying.
Go on, Abdel, just really quickly.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that this is a very, very long topic. Let's just say, with so many facets to it and so many, like, I could break it down to so many things, that we need actually a lecture on it. It's not as simple as he didn't win the Leipzig game, so he's bad. So he won the City game, so he's good. He didn't win the Sevilla game, so he's bad. He won the Chelsea game, so he's good. It's never as simple as that. Tactics is never just about the result. It's about a lot more than that. And there's a lot of factors into this.
Mm-hmm.
Ollie is not a bad manager. People does not want to give him the credit. That's media and fans. That's another thing completely, But he's actually not a bad manager. Sometimes I actually think he overthinks things.
Yes, I was going to say that. I think he completely overthought it.
It's not that he doesn't have a clue what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I could solve it this way, and I could solve it that way, and I could solve it this way, and I don't know which one to pick, kind of thing. Because he makes a lot of adjustments in games, and I'm not talking about system. I'm talking about positions of players. Just because he didn't make a sub or made a sub or change a system or didn't change a system does not mean he's not affecting the game. Like yesterday, he did not make a single sub until the 70th minute, but he made 2 adjustments to the system, and no one noticed it because everyone is on his everyone is on his back. Why is he not making changes? Why is he not making changes? He's got no clue, so he doesn't know how to solve it. It's never this way. It's never gonna be that way. And this is where I go on fans that don't understand how things work out and just want to simplify it to a result. And it gets to me. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. It just does get to me because it's never this way. And there is tactics, there is results, there is coaching, there is managing. These are all separate. They're all separate.
Just quickly, because I don't want to go into this too much, but I think there's so I don't know how to articulate this, but I think tactics has become a buzzword, a massive buzzword. I think you're right. There's a science behind having tactics. I think when people called out the fact that Ollie might have got it wrong with a formation or the way we play against a team, it's not necessarily the tactics. It's a way you have, and I do think it's slightly different having tactics to the way you watch your team try and perform their individual jobs on a pitch to win a game. And I think that's slightly different for me. Like, for instance, the Leipzig game is a great example there, Abdel, where you know, in terms of where he tried to overdo it. For me, he changed up a formation and told players to do their job in a system which just they weren't used to. So no one really knew what they were doing, and it left spaces all over the pitch. That wasn't because he necessarily got it tactically wrong. I feel like that's because he just set up wrong. And that doesn't mean Ollie doesn't have tactics. That just means that Ollie sometimes overthinks it and gets things wrong. Doesn't make him a bad manager. Every manager gets things wrong from time to time, whether it's at the highest level or not. But it's how you then react to that.
I'll just give you a small example. Like, I think Ollie got beat by an idea against the RB Leipzig, not by the setup itself. Because if you actually just go purely on setup, what Aaron Wan-Bissaka did was completely not in the setup. I set you up to be a wing back versus wing back. Why did you leave Angelino?
Abdul, can I hit you on that just quickly though, right? My worry is if Wan-Bissaka in that game wasn't doing the job he was being told in terms of coming inside, backing up a 3 if a defender comes out to press, then Wan-Bissaka's footballing IQ is frigging awful, because you do not make that mistake 6 times in a row.
But this is what happens though. The idea is what led Wan-Bissaka to do that. The idea was because Nagelsmann used a double false 9, you know, with Forsberg and Olmo alternating all the time. They were always stretching the back line, the 5 at the back to inside. It's so Aaron Wan-Bissaka has 2 choices: either to stay on Angelino as wing back versus wing back, all right, or leave the center completely open because there's Lindelof and there's one behind him, you know. So he has to make that decision right now. What they told him within the match, and this is why the game changed slightly after the 20-something minute, they told him, don't forget Angelino. I heard the shouts because I have the version where there's no sound at all, just the voices of the coaches and the players and no commentating. They told him, don't forget Angelino 3 times in the game, just the first half. And this is where he started closing down on Angelino a couple of times.
But Abdel, if you've watched, you've watched Leipzig, and that's how they play. That's how they play. So Ollie, and this isn't me. This isn't me again. Actually, this is me criticising Ollie for the way that we set up against Leipzig. Of course, it is. If you've watched Leipzig play at all this season, that's how they play. That should not be the idea.
And that explains the system because it's wing back versus wing back. He wants to cancel.
But it wasn't though, was it? Because he made Wan-Bissaka come inside to a 2 to a 3.
He did not. More importantly, he did not. You're
why didn't the effect change?
He did not make Aaron Wan-Bissaka come inside. It's the idea that Nagelsmann used that he got shocked by. You know, that idea of alternating false 9 made the line shift inside. This is the difference between a system being wrong or not wrong and an idea taking an advantage of a system.
Yeah, I understand what understand what you're saying. I do get that.
But Aaron Wan-Bissaka's been getting beat on the back post for almost 2 months.
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry.
My U12s. Yeah. I would make sure I see that and make that adjustment.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that's all he.
Yeah, we are.
Staff. He can just be focused on management. And other people are really,
especially when they play like that week in, week out as well. Angelino plays like that all the freaking time.
And that's what I'm actually admitting. I'm admitting that Ollie got beat by that idea. You know, he got surprised by it, and the damage was done in the first 25 minutes. Now, changing it at that time was like, well, we were already 2-0 down. You know what
Here's an idea. Why don't we just win the game? But actually,
well, just stop there, Dominic. You got it right. Don't say anything else. You got it right.
Why don't you just win the game and play 4-2-3-1? What we're all accustomed to, and flicking just if Wan-Bissaka's making the same problem all the time. React, do something. I know, watch Angelino. I can watch Angelino from the TV. Why don't we actually make sure that someone helps him out? Or we bring someone else on, or we make a tactical change earlier.
Yeah.
Jose would have done something straight away. He's taken off Ndombele before he's even put his boots on. Do you know what I mean? He went on and came off before he even knew what was happening. I just feel like Ollie, like you just said, Ollie is tactical. There's no way he can't be. I'm tactical. You're tactical. Sean is. Andrew is. Everybody's tactical. But there's a difference between tactical and having an idea and actually winning the game. Look, Ollie's not a bad manager, but he's in a job where everybody is watching him. The shirt is heavy. He hasn't got the chance to learn and improve and get things right. He hasn't got the chance, unfortunately. This is not Sheffield United. This is not Wigan. It's Manchester United. So either they give him time and we go through this continually, have losses, wins and draws, or they make a change. We get the manager bounce, we win for a bit, but then we'll lose again because we've got the board and Woodward and Glazers. It's never going to change. It's a repeat cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what I said at the very, very beginning. Like, not today, but very, very beginning. Like I said, our biggest problem is recruitment.
Big time.
Yeah, this team is so unbalanced, and people are trying to fit people in positions that they can't play because we don't have backups in certain positions. We don't have, and we have holes in certain positions. And up until now, by the way, and I was thinking about it the other day, this transfer window, we did not address a single weakness we have. Facundo Pellistri and Amad Diallo are not here yet.
No.
To me. Mm-hmm. So we haven't addressed one single weakness we have. We're one of the most unbalanced teams in the league. Like other teams play as a unit better than us because you have people in their perfect positions. Mm-hmm. We don't, because we're trying to make do with things.
Mm-hmm.
And Abdel, like you're saying, it's actually funny because everyone has an opinion on what team and what shape we should have, yet you can clearly see that there's an imbalance. So to be honest, the best person in the best position is the manager to see how can you fit these pieces in the same position. Because if we say the board is the problem and they're not addressing and they don't have the right recruitment, then obviously Ole is going to have to be having moments where he has to try and fit certain pieces into a certain puzzle, and no one can be guaranteed that their idea would have worked unless it's actually proven that it's actually working. So I think like you lads are spot on. I mean, that won't change. But my question was just to look at the general feeling around Ole as just a manager, without all the other nonsense, without all the other media narratives, but just as a manager who didn't manage Mold or whatever, but is this now at United, what he is now, and what you guys felt.
Kai, to your credit, you didn't ask a question, you made a statement, and I friggin' loved it. You literally stood up and went, yeah, here's what I'm going to say right now. And you said it. And I love that.
Grenade.
Don't change, mate. Right. We went completely off topic there, but that was a fantastic conversation. Let me go over to some of the comments. Fred says the constant changing of teams and formations suggests otherwise, reflecting onto that. United Extra Time says, Ollie said we played well yesterday. Clear delusion. We did play well yesterday. What are you on about? John Gray says, yeah, man, we will. I look forward to it. Hopefully my club's won a Champions League and I don't know who John is, but still, bring on. Mate, we're still going to, whoever you support, we're going to win more European trophies than you this season. Mark my words, flip it up. Just going through some of these. Romil says, Ollie in. Look, we don't have to be Ollie in or Ollie out. We've just got to care and love our club, and that's what we all do. And we're all going to have opinions. Adriel says, we have no wingers at all. Do you know what? The Europa League could be a blessing because Pellistri is nearly there. I've been speaking to guys who watch the reserves week in, week out, and they're getting more and more impressed by Pellistri. He's now scored 4 in 4, I think it is, and he's becoming a fantastic team player out there. He knows how to pull the width, he knows how to come inside, he knows how to keep hold of the ball. Apparently, physically, he's a different specimen compared to the man who walked into the club as well. He's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Plus, obviously, Diallo coming in is looking better and better every time he sticks on that Atalanta shirt. So I think we've got two very raw, exciting wingers there who we may see a lot of in the Europa League when that comes around. Right, anyway, and then there's a lot of love in here for Abdel, a lot of love in here for Kai, and a lot of love in here for me, which I can't see. But anyway, let's move on. Oliver, let me come over to you and let's get back on track. I'm going to ask a few questions to you guys, and so we can get back onto it. You mentioned about Paul Pogba. You gave him praise. Why do you think he was so good yesterday?
Well, I wouldn't say he was so good. He was effective. So whether or not that was used tactically by Ollie,
Don't say that word. That word's banned for the rest of the show.
Yeah, basically, I think he did himself justice yesterday. You know, he showed up, just sort of knocked all the nonsense off his shoulders and got on with it. I think, you know, his ability to hold off a man. I mean, he was drawing in probably 2-3 players at a time as well, holding them off and getting a simple ball out, which obviously made space for, you know, Bruno and the likes. Yeah, another day we could have won. But I think just focusing on Pogba on the left, I thought, you know, his contribution wasn't, you know, vintage Paul Pogba. You know, he didn't grab the game by the scruff of the neck, but he did his job very well. And it was a mature performance. I didn't see much sulking. You know, there wasn't this Jogba conspiracy, you know, that he doesn't put the effort in. He was putting in the hard yards and it showed. And I think because of that, there was a bit more solidity. You know, he was getting back. He was tackling. He was doing what we've criticised him for heavily at times. And I think it just deserved a bit more sort of focus, you know. It's bad that it's come off the back of the Rowler comments, but I think he did himself proud, and I don't see why there wouldn't be a way back in for him. Yet, you know, obviously, I think all this link to him being sold in January, it's a bit of a weird one at the minute. I mean, for me, I probably would sell him, you know, whilst he's got a bit of value. But whilst he's here, if he's going to play like that, I've no issue with it whatsoever. You know, you got to back the lads, back the manager. So, yeah, I think he did himself proud, and I was very impressed by Paul Pogba yesterday.
Yeah, Abdel, Pogba done himself proud. You hit on it a moment ago about Pogba's positioning. Could you give us a bit more of an insight into where Pogba actually played yesterday and potentially his effectiveness?
Yeah, wide left, and well, it depends on where the ball is, right? So if when we were trying to build up from the right, Pogba would tuck in centrally where Fernandez would be, usually the 10. And Fernandez would drop to the right to help the build up, and the opposite would happen if the ball was building up from the left. But mainly what he was doing was staying wide left, while Fernandez was staying wide right. So that would make our system look like a 4-2-2-2, like I've said previously. Also, it wasn't like a Fernandez at the tip of the diamond. You know, it was both Fernandez and Pogba trying to play in Greenwood and Rashford from the wide areas, as they were doing runs inside. He played good. He was, you know, getting in there. There was a lot of energy about his play. He was going back and like he was tracking back, because we didn't defend in a 4-3-3 out of position. We defended in a 4-2-2 out of position. So 4-4-2 4-4-2 out of position. And this is like, sometimes I have doubts about Pogba when tracking back, because he was stuck out on the wing in the 4-4-2. But he did his tracking back. He tracked his man back, Walker, or Mahrez. Like, he would interchange with Shaw on who would take on who. So he was good. He was good, and he was fluid too. So like sometimes Fernandez would take his position, and you'll see Fernandez is out wide, while someone else would talk on, like Rashford would talk in the wide, and he stays central. So there was a lot of fluidity up top, which is good. But what I liked is he did his jobs both on the front end and the top, like the top end and the and backwards as well, defensively.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. Yeah, I thought he did I thought he put a proper shift in yesterday, and I was really impressed with that. I think he does. He made the comments after the West Ham game about now feeling 100% fit, and he hasn't felt that this season yet. And I thought he looked it yesterday, which was really, really good. We need our players at peak fitness, because there's a couple of players I feel that are dropping off at the moment who are struggling with their fitness. So if we can keep a fully fit Paul Pogba in that side, then happy days. Sean, I know you've got to run off to a meeting in a minute, so let me come over to you before you've got to go. You mentioned that the game was crying out for a Van der Beek, was crying out potentially for Van der Beek to come on. So, you know, we've spoken about pros and cons to Ollie. Substitutions is one that always gets brought up. So what substitutions would you have made in the last 10, 15 minutes? What substitutions would you have liked to have seen to potentially change the game?
I would have brought on Van de Beek, because personally, when you watch him, especially when he was playing at Ajax as well, you could just go back and look at his scouting reports on what he did. He was very comfortable as a box-to-box number 8. He's very on the right side. He's very combative. He'll get into the tackle. In my opinion, he's our most press-resistant player. One touch, passing, turning, getting out of space, out of trouble. and moving the ball forward. Now, to Scott's credit, I think Scott's greatest attribute, I call him passion. Actually, I don't even use his last name, is his passion. But I feel like when it comes to the midfielders, besides passion, the only thing that Scott McTominay does better than Donny van de Beek is knee slides. Because I haven't seen Donny do a knee slide yet, but Scott's are really good. But yesterday, I felt he was solid. And I felt like Scott was moving the ball forward more. I thought he played well yesterday. So, to each their own. I just feel like you can make a change that can become more attacking and still have some of the same bite. And so that's why I would have personally brought him on. And I'll tell you, this game, I don't know if you guys are going to talk about it a little bit. I've noticed lately, sometimes I feel like I don't even know that I would say that Rashford and Mason can't play together. It's almost like they don't want to. Like in the Leipzig game, we can say what we want, but in the first half, I think if either of them pass to each other, we score in that game. So I don't know what's going on there, but we needed someone that could hold the ball up more. So I don't know if Odi and Agalo is still alive right now. I don't know, or what's going on, but I think if we could have brought someone to hold the play up, to break that pressure, hold the play up, and then get the ball out to one of the guys, on the wings or one of the guys running to break them down. I just think that we had a chance to win the game. And back to what everyone was saying, I think that it's a shame that it's come to all this before now we're starting to see, people want Paul Pogba sold now. But let's be honest, guys. I mean, we've been arguing about Paul Pogba for a few years. We would complain about managers. They don't play him in the best positions. He's not constantly shouldn't be in a double pivot. And it's not just position, as Abdel was saying earlier. It's system and philosophy. So, Pogba's never had the complete free role to do what Bruno does and affect the game the way he does outside of when Ole first came in as interim manager that I can really remember. And so now we also have to remember Bruno, in my opinion, is the first really world-class midfielder, arguably, or I think he is, well, let's just say potentially, that Paul Pogba's played with. So it's like now we've got starting to get good players around him. Could you imagine if we would have gotten, back to what Abdel said earlier about our recruitment, what if we would have gotten a real world-class central defensive midfielder to protect the back line, to allow those midfielders to play more? I think we would see an even more dynamic Bruno and Pogba partnership. I think it could work, but, maybe the ship has sailed. But overall, a few changes, and I think we probably could have nipped the game. But because of the pressure that Ollie's under, I perfectly understand why that him and Pep both were deciding a point is a good point and why he wouldn't risk it. So I understand why it happened the way that it did.
Cheers, Sean. If you do need to run off, feel free to, mate. I know you've got those
man. Thank you guys for everything. Sorry about that real life calls. I'm actually kind of like a little CEO, so I can't not check on my staff. We have a meeting here shortly.
Go do it, man. Go do it. Thank you. Come on. Actually, Sean, you've put me in a good position because my next point was to come over to Dominic and say about a good point. You called it a good point, Dominic. Is this one of those that we're going to look back on at the end of the season and go, actually, that point was the key there? We're unbeaten now in 5. It's not bad reading, is it? A point against City.
100%. Don't get me wrong, man. When we lost, I was livid just like everybody else. I was fuming. I was like, negative. Ollie, he doesn't care about us. No, I'm not talking to him anymore. I was like that. But I have to take a breather and think, okay, wait a minute. It was tactical. And I know we're not saying that T word, but I just said it one more time. It was tactical. And it was one of the situations where that point is so vital now. Chelsea dropped points. Tottenham has dropped points. Arsenal have lost. I just put that one in there again. And it's one of those things where people around us are failing. Leicester can win and then lose and then win like they did today. And it's one of those things. What does that point actually mean? It's not just the points that are on the board. It's what it gives us going forward. If we lost to City yesterday, the whole fan base, the pressure under Ollie, we all talk about these ideas. I'll tell you right now, he wouldn't know what to do for the Sheffield United game. He'll be confused. He'll be scared. He'd probably think, okay, do I play loads of people or do I play Pogba? Now we've got a basis to actually go and say, look, we've beaten Man City, who have absolutely battered teams. They've battered teams, and we actually gave it to them. The stats, if you see the stats, we had more shots than them. We had the same amount of shots on target. Possession was about 45, 55. Normally, it's about 70, 65 to Man City when we normally play them. I can understand where Ollie's going in terms of progress against Man City, but for us, not only have we got the point, we haven't dropped too much, but we've got a basis and a foundation to go into our next matches. And that's what I'm taking away from it. Of course, I want us to win games. Of course, I want 3 points. Of course, I want a manager who's going to take us to the upper echelons of the footballing game, which is where we need to be. But I've now become realistic. My expectations now, I'm not saying when we reel off the games and go, oh, we'll beat that team, Sheffield, oh, we'll beat that team, Leeds, we'll beat that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm taking every game as it comes and appreciating what we've done and how we've progressed. And I think we've progressed in terms of how to play that way, the Jose Mourinho way. And sometimes we can't do that. And I'm enjoying the point, and I'm enjoying that we've got a platform to go and beat Sheffield United. If it's 1-0, I'll take it. Let's just keep getting points on the board.
Yeah, good points, well made. Points mean prizes, as we always say. Kai, what about defensively yesterday? I thought we were really good defensively, and I actually thought Harry Maguire was fantastic yesterday. What were your thoughts on our back four?
Yeah. Look, I think we're good. And it also particularly helped that we weren't very, very expansive. So we're also able to deal with a lot of the things which they'll throw in the box if it was a cross or anything like that. And I think Harry was great in the air, didn't lose. I don't remember seeing him losing an aerial challenge, but obviously he was against Jesus or something. But also at set pieces, every single time we get a set piece, I'm sweating. I'm about to get an aneurysm. I've got all types of blisters. I don't know what's going on. Symptoms. Just symptoms generally every time we get a set piece, because it always looks like it's flying in. I always have just, So yesterday, what I found is that we actually defended the set pieces a lot better. And like Abdel was saying last week, I think it has a lot to do, obviously, with concentration. So, for example, you can't specifically look at this game and say zonal marking is the most terrible thing that ever lived, and look at it, in those, isolated incidents. But you have to look at what are the players doing at that particular system. So are they awake? Are they focused? Are they tracking the runners? And are they reacting to things that they can see? Like in the last game, I think it was Telles and Pogba who could see that there were two, or that they could see that Soucek, I think, was running on the, in behind them, and they still couldn't deal with it. Yeah. So I think this time we did really well on our set pieces and defending them really well. And on top of that, I think just in general play, the gaps weren't too big between defense and midfield. So there weren't, too many gaps for for Maguire to cover for. He didn't have to stretch too much. And generally, when you see Maguire really struggle is when teams stretch us out wide completely, and then one of our fullbacks is either, squeezed in too much or is caught up the field, and then he has to run and then cover. As they always say, the centre back's worst, situation is running wide to go and cover for a winger or for a fullback, because what happens. He's always, every time Harry Maguire is in a, yeah, exactly. So every time Harry Maguire is in a 60-40 where he's 60 and the other attacker's 40, it becomes a 80-20 to the attacker, like real quick. So the fact that we managed to just stop those type of situations that he didn't have to extend, and the fact that we were a bit compact, and also Victor was also pretty good yesterday. I know we don't like to give him credit for just good performances. We like to trash him for bad ones. But I think he was also really decent alongside Maguire as well. And also, I think Shaw generally is better defensively, so he offers you that little bit of defensive solidity, which obviously an Alex Telles wouldn't do for you, because he's not trying to be defending. He's trying to have sauce, right? So I think in this case, having Shaw as well in there, tucking in, also made sure that we're not, too expansive. So I think generally we did play well, and like Abdel said, also on the right hand side, we also resisted a lot of the press, and our passes were very snappy. So I think our back four did really well. Our fullback positions did really well to relieve us of out of trouble between Scott and Wan-Bissaka, between the two of them, and also Bruno coming into the right hand side to help those little triangles to get out. So I think our back four really performed in more than one area. I think yesterday, it's just a pity that obviously the rest of the pitch couldn't give us the goals that we needed. But I think they did well.
I think also Maguire played less sideways passes yesterday. I think he played a couple of really nice out balls out to Wan-Bissaka and a couple of times out to Shaw. And I think it also helps Maguire having Pogba because he knows he can aim for Pogba's chest and Pogba will keep the ball. And I think that's really an important part of having. I think one of Paul Pogba's most underrated strengths in some ways is when he's got his back to a defender or a midfielder and he does take the ball. 9 times out of 10 he retains that ball and he keeps hold of it and he manages to progress play. And I think that can only help your defenders like Lindelof and Maguire who do search.
And Ben, just a quick one on that. I don't know how you guys feel about as well Maguire. When he's on the ball, he's a good passer of the ball, but I feel like he takes just 3 seconds too long. Every single time it's pondered, and it's weird because
both of them do though, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And I know for a team that we have who actually most of the chances we create are one-touch passing is really quick. It's bang, 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 and all of a sudden we're in the box pen. But I feel like Maguire really slows down that process. He always overthinks the pass. I mean, he always looks like he wants to hit it, and then he's like, no, I'm gonna lose it, and then goes to Lindelof. And then it ends up back in Maguire. And I think that fact that they take too long to play it means that the way we play out from the back becomes useless because we still end up launching it anyways. So I'm always like, what's the point of doing this and this and this and this and that? And then out of nowhere, out of the blue as well, it's always just like, oh, someone's rushing at me and then launch it over the top. And then it comes back in the same way. So I think, I don't know what it is with Maguire. He's good at passing it. But it's like he sees it slightly late, and it's. I don't know what you guys think.
It's because Maguire, he thinks he's a baller, right? He thinks he could be a midfielder. He's like, you know what? I'm good at football, you know. I'm actually really good.
He does bring it out from the back very well, though.
He does.
But the thing is, he does, but he needs to just get rid quicker.
Just doesn't play it fast.
Right. He thinks to himself, you know what? Like, I'm probably better than some of these midfielders here. My techers is unreal. You know what? I'm going to show these people. But to me, I'm like, pass the ball. Just pass the ball. Quicker,
I say that a lot before he passes. Pass it. Come on, pass.
Just
Even
pass it,
Shaw
man.
does the same. He's like,
if I was on
I'm
the
not going to
pitch,
do it.
if I was on the pitch, right, pitch and main line at Old Trafford, I'd run on the pitch quickly and just pass it for him. You know what I mean? Just really quickly.
You probably have enough time to get from your seat down to pass the ball and then back up again. But then it's the same with Lindelof. Every time he has the ball, you can see the gap. The gap in between the midfield and the defence to Bruno, to play the ball square to Bruno. And it happened a few times in the game that Van der Beek started as well, where we got really well in between the lines. He just needed a one-touch pass or a quick ball through. And he never plays the pass. I don't know if that's confidence from our centre-backs or... I don't know. It's odd, isn't it?
Maguire actually delays everything more than Lindelof. Like Lindelof, when you see him stuck, it's because he's looking for the pass options. It's like he's telling someone to move.
Yeah, provide me an angle.
Provide me an angle so I can give you a pass. But with Maguire, he's really thinking it. Like he's really, should I do this long pass or not?
I agree here with Brown Knight though. He is a very good passer of the ball, which is why
he's very good. He's very good.
Exactly.
From him, but he actually thinks it. Like a couple of situations yesterday, I was like, yeah, we want the ball off them. Come on, like move it fast. You know, we'll catch them out of position, and he just delays it.
You know when you got too many like tabs open on your computer, and your computer gets a bit slow, and it's just a bit delayed. That's Maguire. I've got too many tabs open, and he's like, "Oh, it's coming, guys! It's coming."
Well, I want to go to Andrew for one more thing, and then I want to chat about one more thing with you guys quickly because we're eating into time. We've gone over an hour already. Andrew, just quickly, Luke Shaw yesterday. Again, I think the best part so far of Alex Tellez signing for us is he's made a brilliant player of Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw's been far better this season than we've seen him in a long time. What did you make of Luke Shaw yesterday?
I'd say it was his best game since he's come back from his injury. I mean, against Leipzig, he didn't have that much of a good game, but then no player did. But I mean, yesterday he was pretty good. I mean, he had 6 ball recoveries. He won 4 out of his 5 tackles. I mean, he had 2 successful take-ons, and he was taking the corners in the first half, and he was swinging those in. And Maguire and Lindelof had their chances to score. So, I mean, since Tellez has come on, he seems to have stepped up his game and starting to before I just felt with Luke Shaw, he was getting down the line, and then I thought you can take these players on, you can get the crosses in, and then before that he was just like holding the ball back, passing it backwards, and I was like, no, Tellez is coming on. You just think, oh, I've got to that's why I think when we first bought him, he could make those one-on-one runs and take defenders apart. But I say Luke Shaw, Luke Shaw, he's getting better. He just needs that consistent run. It's just like he gets a run and then he pulls down injured. I'm like, I just want him to have a whole season where he doesn't pick up an injury, and then we can see the very best of him. So, but hopefully now he's got over his hamstring injury. He can now say him and Tellers can push each other to the next level and be part of a good defence.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And I think with Pogba, he gets a bit more space as well to get down that left-hand side, which is good.
Yeah.
Well, Tellez, being as attacking as he is, has given Shaw sort of taken the limelight off him and let him be the defensive left back.
Yeah.
Because it was always, Shaw's lack of inventiveness when he went forward, and then obviously indecision because he was.
Can I tell you?
Being a defensive left back.
Do you know what I actually? Oh, sorry.
No, crack on, guy.
Kai, you can't say something and then mute yourself.
Sorry. No, I'm so sorry. I felt rude over there because it was breaking, so I don't know if you stopped. Sorry. No, I was just saying with Luke Shaw, I actually think Luke Shaw would have been someone like where Andy Robertson is now if he didn't get injured, because you can see in his mentality that he just doesn't want to run after a guy. Because Luke Shaw before didn't even stop. He was kind of like a Chilwell vibe. He'll just keep going. Like he was just I remember the one time, I think it was just before the second leg break. I forgot which Champions League or what game it was, but it was against like one of the teams that were green or something. But he ran across the whole pitch with the ball, just dribbling to the other side, and then he released it. Or he came back for a recovery run or something. And back then he didn't have that second injury. And I just think he just doesn't run because he used to be quick. He used to just go directly. He used to be so direct, but now he's, pondering everything like, oh, I don't want to do this one more time, type of thing. So I think his life would have gone such a different direction if he just didn't have this mental break. You can see it even with someone like Hazard, who can't run anymore. He doesn't even want to engage in one-on-ones anymore because those injuries. I think it's a mentality thing. I don't know.
Do you not think that stemmed from a sort of maturity on his part in the left back role, though? I mean, the game against Tottenham, was it last season? When he got caught out of possession because he was dithering on it. Yeah. And then there's that sort of fear, maybe I was a bit immature because he was upfield when he wasn't paying attention. So maybe the defensive display yesterday sort of proved that maybe he is our better defensive.
I just think that I think he would have been both. I think he would have been a great defensive fullback and he would have been a great attacking fullback as well. If he just had that drive to take on people and to use his pace to go forward. Because I don't think he's there for that crunching tackle, that pushing the ball forward and someone coming to. I don't think he's there for that anymore. So he's not even trying to do the the one-on-one, the 1-2 passes and there's a chance that someone might just slice him like that. I just think he's kind of past that sort of stage, but I think he could have been both because he has the mind to be a good defensive fullback. But I think he also could have had just that intensity and aggression that he's now missing from his game because of the injuries. I'm not a fan of Luke Shaw, by the way. But
he used to not be scared to take on a man and sort of get a bit rough and dirty. But now 9 times out of 10, when he gets himself in good positions, it's off the back of a give and go. And I think that sort of it says a lot about how he's had to change his game up slightly. Fred says you can't really compare him to Robertson. Not as forward thinking, doesn't have the positional intelligence in the final third, whatever that means. Romil says his corners were awesome. Miss Cavani, I thought he was very good on corners. Yes, I thought in the first half we were great from corners, which was great. Anyway, I want to move on. Hopefully by the end of the season that'll be looked as a point well done. I just want to quickly for 5 minutes, 10 minutes hit on this, guys, and we'll do this as a group. Let me share my screen. Roy Keane had some comments after the game yesterday. He was not happy with this. Maguire, can you see my screen? Giving his, by the looks of it, family member with a different name a cuddle at full time.
Ben, this makes me so angry, Ben.
Why? Come on, Kai, you kick us off. Why does this make you so angry?
you know, like Roy Keane needs to calm down. And you know why I say he needs to calm down? Is because I was watching the Fulham game today, and Areola, the keeper who used to play for PSG, now plays for Fulham. He's got no emotional attachment to Fulham, right? Even if it's a derby, he's not going to go out and like it's the game has changed, you know. The feelings aren't the same in football. The loyalties aren't the same anymore, you know. And the players as well. They've got WhatsApp chats. Like Maguire's just hugging Stones now, but they were probably just bantering each other last night on the WhatsApp, you know, like sending each other pics and all that stuff. So I just think like it's not. I just think he needs to calm down, and it's not super fashionable to always be miserable, you know. And you know, even like on the show with Roy Keane, I think it's great that he's got Micah Richards because he actually balances. I think that's why they got Micah Richards, because they realized that, you know what, it's getting too much. We can't always be this dour, and I just can't. I'm sorry. I know he's a legend. I love him as well. But sometimes he's just doing it for the vibes. Like I'm just
he's Roy Keane's a parody of himself.
Exactly.
He comes in and has to be like that. I'm sure when he goes home, he has a PG tips and a nice tea and a couple of biscuits and just relaxes and says, I could be myself now. I think it's tiring being Roy Keane.
Walks around with a face on all the time, mate.
If you think about it, right, look, this picture just says to me, I'm cracking up. I'm actually laughing. I think this is hilarious, right? And I'll tell you why this is hilarious when I saw it, okay? Again, these footballers are human, all right? They all play with England. Don't forget they play with England together. They see each other. They're friends, right? Okay. If we won the game, no one would have clipped this picture. No one would have cared. No one would have given them monkeys. It'll be fine. Hallelujah. Next game. Because we haven't won, Roy Keane, when he's working 9 till 5, has got to think, all right, what can I do here? All right, I'm going to talk about this picture and people are going to love it. They're going to love it. In honesty, if we won this game, don't care about this picture, it hurts a little bit when you see this picture because you're like, oh, we lost. But I've seen something on Twitter which really got me and I was cracking up, right? Someone put a picture of Maguire and Stones hugging. There's another picture.
What's his name? Stones.
Stones, yeah. It's like a British scones. You know, scones. I was a bit hungry, man. I'm hungry. Scones. So Maguire and Stones were hugging, and then you had Fernandez and Marshall about to kiss
on the floor.
Yeah. And I was thinking, all right, this is ridiculous. Look, do people want people to start like punching each other after games? Is that what we want to go back to? Because that's never going to happen. Look. They're hugging, get over it, whatever. I want to win games. I don't care if they hug. Win a game, forget about it.
Well, look, Dominic, we're lucky because as Merlin says here, we're blessed tonight in the presence of Abdel, who is arguably the best football pundit right now. So, Abdel, what do you make of Maguire's technique here in the cuddle? What do you think of that? Do you think he's got a good little squeeze going on there with the right hand and is the over the top on the left? Good cuddle?
Yeah, his body position is not right.
He's not
got the right idea, is he? Right.
Look, I do want to hit on one thing with this though, and this is look. This isn't before the game. This is after the game, and I know people say that before a derby in the tunnel, you need to be killing each other. I'm going to just pull this off screen now. You need to be killing each other. You need to be ready and waiting to go in the game. But after a match, come on, people cuddle. They shake hands. They trade shirts. What I still don't understand why. And also putting in mind that they hadn't even started analysing that performance yet. Yet Roy Keane used it as to go in at Harry Maguire. He was proper kicking off about Harry Maguire, who had a fantastic game. I'd
have to say, right, John Stones has had a very hard time as of late, and the last couple of games he's been quite, he's been good. He's been consistent. They've had clean sheets. Maguire has been playing well. If it's two centre-backs just congratulating each other, they're teammates for England. They have been.
Sorry, Oliver. Sorry. Let me just bring you back in. Romil, zonal hugging.
You get VAR on it, mate.
Sorry, Oliver. Let me come back to you.
No, it's fine, mate. There's just no issue with it, is there?
We've got to check that.
That's Keane blowing blowing a fire out of nothing. Ridiculous.
What a lovely way to end the show. Jacob, I mean, if Keane had a bit more respect, Ireland would have won the 2002 World Cup. There we go. Shots fired back at you, Keano, although we love you. Guys, I think that brings...
So,
Go on, Kai. Sorry.
no, I just I was just thinking of that point which you were making. But obviously you said time's up about the not having fans in the stadium, how that affects the football matches. But that's another one for another day.
Yeah, to be fair, we haven't had time to come to it, but a few comments were made, and we were going to jump onto it today. Oh, sorry, there's something on there. So a comment was made today because we've seen obviously Palace managed to get that draw against Tottenham, and Fulham obviously getting that result over the line as well against Liverpool. You know how different those two games were compared to the Manchester derby the other day. How much of an impact actually not having just those 2,000 fans in the stadium is having on the clubs now. And I wanted to jump into that. So, Kai, if you want to quickly, just for a couple of minutes, just say a couple of points. If someone off the back wants to say something, we'll go there.
Yeah, no, I just noticed at the beginning of lockdown when this started, I was speaking to my dad and I said to him, I thought that probably the teams with the better footballers, so just genuine footballing ability, would probably do better in the time without fans than the teams which probably need the fans, such as Sheffield United and the like. And I think over time, as the footballers have probably gotten used to playing behind closed doors, I think it's come back to be a little bit more normal. And I think now, like you said, with the fans today, it probably made a difference, because I think both teams were under the cosh until the last minutes, I think. So I think the fans did really help the smaller teams in this case. But yeah, I just really did notice at the beginning that the bigger teams were winning by such big score lines because, there wasn't that 12th man for the other team. It was really like about the football. And that's what I noticed before.
Connor, we haven't heard an awful lot from you. What do you think on that, fans in stadium?
It's like Kai just said with the 12th man. It definitely the energy from the crowd, and I also think it translates onto the players because they can see the reaction of the fans. Whereas you've got an empty stadium, they don't really know what the reaction is going to be. Whereas if you're in Old Trafford with 70,000 fans there, the players can hear and see what the reaction of the fans is, and that does drive the players on because that energy will transcend onto the pitch. So it definitely makes a difference. And just quickly going back to the Maguire photo there, I think it's absolutely ridiculous what Keane was on about. I do love the guy and everything. He's a Manchester United legend, but I think as fans, we all want players to be Manchester United fans. But as Kai said, that if they've come from abroad, if they've come from elsewhere, they're not all going to be United fans. As long as they do their talking on the pitch, I don't really care what happens after the game. But no, back to the fans point. Yeah, it's definitely made an impact. And like just said, certainly for smaller teams, that home advantage does come in, and we've certainly noticed it at Manchester United. I'm not saying we're a small team, but that energy does transcend onto the pitch, and we do need it sometimes.
Yeah, it's an intro. Bougie, you've got to click. So when you subscribe next, there's a bell, and you just have to click that bell, and that will turn your notifications on, mate. Guys, make sure you have all subscribed. Make sure you've hit a like on this video as well. It's been a top show, this. If you've not watched from the start, rewind, because there's a fantastic debate in the middle when Kai piped up. Tell you, he absolutely piped up, and it all went to mayhem.
Tactical.
Yeah, and literally 20 minutes of mayhem that was more entertaining than the draw yesterday, let me tell you. I just want to hit on a couple of these comments just to be a bit balanced. Juan, a Manchester United fan in Ecuador, says, I don't care whether football has changed or not. I don't know if he's in. No, Colombia, sorry. Changed or not. This is not okay, referring to the cuddle. Just watch a Boca Juniors versus River game and you'll understand what I'm saying. Adam says, not upset about it, really. All players do it now. If it was before the game, it would be unacceptable if Maguire had a stinker and then did that, but he was one of United's best players yesterday. And then Man United Facts 2, not Man United Facts 1, Man United Facts 2 says, what kind of captain does that? He should be showing tough love by being a bully in the defence, not gentle teammate love hugging each other after the match. I really don't think it's that deep. I really don't think it's that deep.
Wow.
War Ocean 1 says he has a point. The derby was diluted from the start to end, kind of like the Arsenal Burnley game. I mean, it's just like.
See, this is where this is where opinions that go out on the media and channels like ours.
Cheers, mate. Be careful what you say, Abdel.
No, don't worry. But like fan channels in general. I'm not saying like we do that, but I'm just saying that like we affect the public thinking because we have people that watch us a lot, and some people actually take these things as facts. You know what I mean? So, for example, if one of us here goes goes really hard on Maguire and brings some random facts about it and to prove a point, some people actually take these as facts,
Well,
and
look,
they
Abdul,
go perpetuate it to other people.
look,
You know what I mean?
that's one of the comments. For him giving Stones a cuddle, strictly armband of him, he's no captain. What? Because he cuddled a player after a game.
Exactly, and this is why, I stress, I've said it to other fan channels. I'm not gonna say names, but I've stressed that they have a responsibility. The more your audience grows, the more effect you have on public opinion, and you have to be educated and present really good opinion. Don't just hang the hat of opinion and say, oh, this is my opinion, it's my channel, so I can say whatever the hell I want. But you affect a lot of people, and some people actually get lost in all of this and have wrong opinions and false information. And this is where the balance has to, okay, I have to balance out between opinions and giving educated opinions. I say, this is my opinion of Maguire. I just don't like him because, A, B, C, D. You know what I
Abdel,
mean?
it's got to the point now where pundits aren't good anymore. Someone tell me a good pundit. Like, you've got freaking Roy Keane that never talks about the actual game. You've got Paul Merson just cracking jokes. You've got, who else you got? All these pundits are rubbish. Michael Owen, rubbish. Like,
Rubbish,
he's all right. But people, fan channels, but when a match finishes now, people aren't really listening to they have to bring Michael Richards on to try and keep them there. People go into fan channels now. They're going to AFTV when people lose. They're going to these channels, these streams, my stream, whatever, to actually hear real unfiltered facts. So 100% there's a duty of care to make sure that you're not actually slandering people, that you're making players seem like they're criminals, or no, they're not. Like, we just got to look at it and think about what we're saying and give some good views and say, this is our opinion. But look, these are human beings at the end of the day, right?
That's why this show has so many people on
channels. I was just going to say, it's the media and certain news outlets as well that really drive the negative towards
ESPN.
ESPN. Can I just say one thing, by the way? All completely spot on, but Abdel, I just want to leave the final word to you. Jacob's commenting on pundits that he likes, and I think you might want to share a quote that you put out on your Twitter earlier on today, because one of the pundits he likes is Ian Wright.
No, look, I love Ian Wright, but honestly, I love Ian Wright, but at the same time, because he has this bias towards Arsenal, he's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna put this out there. If Arteta was managing Manchester United, he would have, they would be challenging right now. And I know this is just his opinion, and there is nothing to support other than what he just saw in one game, And I know what he's talking about, but. I don't want to say Ian Wright is not educated. He is very educated. But when you listen to the analysis on the pre-match analysis shows, they don't really discuss any tactics or anything. They discuss they've been winning the last 5 games, so that manager is doing something good. They've have up and down performances, so this manager is bad. They lost the last 5 games, so this manager should be sacked. His head is on the chop. That's how they analyze it. Or they bring in certain goals. It's like, oh, look at Rashford's movement there. I'm like, that's not tactics though. Just so you know, this is not tactics. This is just Rashford's movement. You're analyzing tactics.
That's what I was saying about buzzwords
as a player, not tactics of a manager.
And that's what I was saying about buzzwords. Buzzwords are so just like also in depth is another one that people keep using when they say, "Oh, we're having an in-depth react," and it's like, what's so in depth? Like,
and if you see how they looked at the Everton, they've represented them on in the media, it's so weird. First, they were the greatest thing. They didn't tell us why they were the greatest thing. The only thing they had was highlights of James. But it's weird how now when they're not doing so great, there's never any tactical analysis as to what went wrong, what's changed in the system. The only thing they'll say is, Everton are bad form. They've lost the last 3 games and haven't picked up whatever points.
Anyone can get a red pen. Anyone could get a red pen and circle a player. I can do that in my sleep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That doesn't mean
exactly.
you're analysing anyone. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I love about Everton? I wouldn't even know that they were still in the Premier League. No one's talking about them now. Like, that's how quiet it's gone. And by the way, can I just quickly hit on one thing though? Like, I know we've just spoken about different outlets and stuff, and some people in the comments are putting fan channel names, and I respect that you're saying stuff, but also from a point of view as someone who knows what it's like running a fan channel, getting into hosting stuff, putting your face to a camera as well and saying something. Look, you do have responsibility upon yourself, as Abdel just said there, but also credit to anyone who keeps up the consistency
100%.
and decides to do it as well.
Absolutely.
So we're not going to sit here and have slagging matches or talk about individual people, or because also there's a whole load of respect that needs to go out there to anyone who dedicates their life or dedicates time, because let me tell you, this is a slug. This is an absolute slug, and there's so many things that go into it that no one would know about right now. That is mental, and there's so much politics behind. It's just ridiculous.
It's a livelihood. It's a livelihood for people.
Yeah,
it's not just a joke, you know.
100%. So shout out to anyone who does it. And I know Abdel, you won't call anyone, but I just wanted to caveat that.
I just said that they just need to have responsibility with what they're putting on.
That's why we have you on, mate. That's the most responsibility I ever take. Is make sure I've got Abdel on and it's all fine.
Abdel's a mod. He's a mod.
Yeah, he's a moderator. Abdel's a moderator of this whole channel. Guys, thank you for joining me. It's been a long one tonight, but one of the most fun shows I've done. Wall of Reds is always good fun with so many Reds on here giving their views. Look, I would say it's an important week ahead, but we've had more important ones. What I will say is that we just need to win on Thursday because we've put ourselves in a really, really good position. And one of Liverpool or Spurs will potentially lose. One of them or both could drop points again. So it's a great chance for us to put ourselves in a position where if this league table carries and we can keep picking up results, after that game in hand, if we win it, we could be top of the league, lads. Literally, that's where it's going at the moment. So whatever negativity is over this club, we are still in a title race, whether we believe we're there on quality or not, whether you back a manager or not. Manchester United Football Club is not far away from the top of the league, and that is what matters right now. So guys, keep it subscribed, keep your notifications on, hit a like on this video, get involved with the shows. Tomorrow, me and Joe have got a late night lock-in for you, so do not miss that. We'll also have the Manchester United Women's show up tomorrow as well, where they reflect on today's game against Reading, preview for Sheffield United coming on Tuesday, and loads of other good stuff in the week, including an in-depth, we like that word here, including a look at Police Street. We're going to be talking to someone who watches every single second of reserve team football, so we're going to have a little look at Police Street and how he's settling in and when we might see him playing for the first team, so keep a look out for that one this week. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks again, guys. Check all these guys out over on our Twitter account at All for United. We'll speak to you soon. Night, everyone.